everybody, I'm Georgina Bisby and welcome to my YouTube channel Just George, and thank you so much for joining me again if you've been here before, and welcome if it's your first time. If you saw my overview video for my renovation and extension vlog series, you'll have a bit of an idea of what we're attempting to do. But basically we've got a semi-detached 3-bedroom property in the southeast of England, and we have demolished what was an existing an outhouse basically, and we've replaced that with a 2-storey side and rear extension. So we've knocked the kitchen through to create a big kitchen dining area with a downstairs toilet and a utility room, and upstairs we've added a bedroom and a bathroom, and we've also added one secret room which I will tell you about and show you at a later date. But I really thought to give this series some context, it was really important that I talked a bit about the planning process. A, because this is the first point at which we decided that we might be able to save some money, and we learnt a few lessons about things you can and can't do during the planning process to save money. But also just some lessons that we learnt along the way, really, that I think anyone starting out on the process of building an extension may well find useful, particularly if you're doing it on a budget. So the first thing that I was really grateful for in hindsight is that we actually set about the planning application process long before we were ready to build. So I think a lot of people get to the point where they've got the money to build, they say, right, we're ready to do an extension or a major renovation project now, and then they go through the planning process, and then they get really frustrated with the amount of time it takes, you know, for the planning to go through, for any issues, any appeals, that kind of thing. So, architect's fees. Now, this is the first opportunity where we decided we could probably save some cash. Architects are great. Some projects you absolutely need an architect for. But for this particular project, for us, we've got a little bit of background in terms of I grew up, you know, as a daughter of a builder, and my partner's got builders in the family. We've seen building work going around us. We've seen friends do building work. We had enough understanding of the process to actually be able to have some kind of vision ourselves. It's something that we chose to and wanted to engage with. We didn't want someone else to come in and draw up the plans of how they saw how we should live. We felt like it was a decision we really wanted to make ourselves. So we started the process of just thinking about what we might want to do, what our ideal was, and we knew that we would then need to refine that according to our budget, and also obviously what the planning department allowed us to do. But the first place to start for us was by going onto our local planning website, so our local borough website, and to search through planning applications, ones that were in motion and also decided ones around our area. So we could see first of all what had been refused and what had been accepted, but we could also look at other people's plans, anything that people were considering at the moment, because that would give us a bit of an idea of what we might be allowed to do, and also just some inspiration for what we might want to do. So that's a really good place to start. We also just took a walk around the local neighbourhood, spoke to neighbours, looked at what other people had done, and started to get a feel for what we might like to do and what we might be able to do. So I'm standing outside the actual new extension now, but what we originally wanted to do is we wanted to come out the front of the property, in front of the porch, come round to the side, do like a wrap round, and that would have added a nice width here that we could have just knocked through from the kitchen and created a kitchen diner and a bit of a utility room as well. So it would have been a really nice space. But because of where our border was, our original outhouse used to come right up to this here, which is the next door neighbour's garage. And basically, if we wanted to go up 2 storeys, which is what we wanted to do, sorry, I'm just treading on something there, they said that we had to come in 1 metre from the border. So that left us with basically this space here, which is okay, but for the amount of work involved to build that structure on 2 storeys, to add that, which is just under 2 metres, I think, didn't really give us scope to do that much. I mean, it doesn't really work as a bedroom. It's not really a big enough space for a bedroom upstairs. And just to add a bathroom upstairs, it didn't really feel worth it, worth the money and the expense and the hassle, really. And downstairs, it would have just added room for like a table and a small sort of toilet utility room. So really, for the expense, it wouldn't have been worthwhile. So we did originally try anyway. We thought, you never know, they might let us go all the way to the border. So we did try, but that's the point at which they said, no, we're not going to let this through, so you may as well go back to the drawing board and you have a chance to do another application. So I'm now inside, and this would have been the space that we'd had if we'd just come in that metre and just created the extra space. It's quite difficult to show you, but if you just look behind me, we've got the existing kitchen. So this is what we had before, just coming through to here, to this opening here. That's the fridge where it was before, and we would have just literally had this space here, which is okay. It still makes a reasonable space knocking through, but for the expense it just really wasn't worth it. So that's when we basically had the idea of coming out the back, which if I turn round is exactly what we've done. And we ended up going out 4.5 metres to the back, and we've created this space here, knocking through the original kitchen. We've got the bit to the side that on its own wouldn't have been worth it, and then we've come all the way out the back. We've then got a drop through this window onto the garden. We've got some bifold doors here, which are then going to join up with the decking area to the previous living room. And then we'll have steps down to the garden, because we used to have a patio here actually at those doors, but we've taken that all away and we're replacing it with decking with some storage underneath and so on. So when we actually went back to the drawing board, our initial proposal to come out and do this extra 4.5 metres was also rejected. And so that was a point of the project where we just thought, right, okay, we'll take a breather, we'll rethink, what are we going to do now? And when we decided to apply for 4.5 metres, we just thought we'll go the maximum amount that we think they'll possibly let us do, and then we'll start refining it again from there. So we thought we might as well just go for it, ask for 4.5 metres, and then go back to them and say, okay, if we can't do that, what can we do? Can we do 3 metres? Can we come in a bit? What are our options? But during a chance conversation with a neighbour, they actually suggested that we appealed the decision, because they said a few appeals had been getting through. There seemed to be they had builders in their family, there seemed to be a consensus that in general more appeals were being won and planning laws were being relaxed, or decisions were being relaxed a little bit, and that it was worth us having a go. So we set about doing this, and I will just take you outside to show you why they actually rejected our plans and how we countered them. Now standing in the alleyway that we've basically created, because we weren't allowed to do what we originally wanted to do, which was come all the way out here and go up. We were then, as I explained, left with that funny little space here, and we just felt that just adding that to the property and that being it would have just been a really expensive, a small extension really. It would have cost us a lot for what we'd have gained from it. So we then made our application to go out the back, and initially it was refused. We went 4.5 metres out the back. We came in a metre from the side, as the council had asked us to do, and they said no, because they said that this here would have too much of an impact on the neighbouring property, which is the fence of which is here. But in actual fact, what is next to us here is a garage. You can just see the top of there. So that's the whole sort of garage width before the property itself starts, and the only window is a landing window, which you can just about see up there, and that actually is a window that the property owner couldn't see out of anyway. The property owner themselves had no problem with the application when we made it. They didn't have an issue, so the council said couldn't build this because it would have too much of an impact on that. I looked through their list of arguments, felt that I could counter each point. Someone suggested to me that I did actually appeal. So wrote a very simple appeal letter. It basically took me one evening. I just took each point and provided a counter argument for it. So where it said it would affect their light or their view, I said, well, it wouldn't, because this distance between here and here is X, and just explaining that because of the way the gardens fall, it's actually quite a big width in the end between any living space of theirs and our new building. And a couple of months later, which is kind of the way these things seem to take that amount of time, we won the appeal. So it was great. It was a really simple process. Someone just came round, had a look. You don't really have much interaction with them when they come round, because obviously you're not supposed to influence them in any way. But they consider all the points you've made, consider it from another perspective. And in this instance, we won the appeal. And people have said to me that now, I think, in some cases it is becoming easier to win these appeals. So it's perhaps always worth a try if it's something that you hadn't considered. But after that, once we started building, this is another thing I've learnt along the way really. Initially, the only reason we came out was because, as I said, we didn't get that width at the side, so we wanted to make it a bit bigger. So we literally just planned to come straight back in line with what we were doing on the side. But then when we started building, we just thought, how silly, why don't we actually come further along the building? We never wanted to go the whole way across, because we wanted to leave this decking area that we're going to create here. Because it's a south-facing garden, we just thought that made the most of it. We felt like we were creating enough space inside anyway with a kitchen diner,
We had a decent sized lounge. We just thought for the property that would be adequate. We didn't want to eat too much into the garden. But yeah, we actually just thought, you know what, in for a penny, in for a pound. If we're doing all this building work, there's quite a lot of work digging down. You can see down here, because of the levels in the garden from going from high to low. So thankfully we got permission to do that as well, so that was brilliant. But I would say in retrospect, one of the things I've learned is just be brave from the outset, think what you really, really want and go for it, because you know, it's going to cost you a certain amount anyway, and if you're doing all that work, especially digging down, you've just got to go for it.
So that was a bit of an overview into our planning woes, the planning process, and ultimately our planning victories and how we got there. But the main piece of advice I think I would share from our experiences is just give yourself plenty of time, because there's nothing more frustrating than waiting around for planning decisions to be made when you've got no control or influence over when they're going to be decided. Thank you so much for watching and for joining me, and please come back soon because I've got so much more to share. And if you liked this video, please do give it a thumbs up to help me, motivate me to make more, and please subscribe. Bye bye for now.